The sky above Earth had always been a calm blue, broken only by the occasional plane or the distant shimmer of satellites. That tranquility shattered one morning when a shadow passed over entire continents, and the world's people stopped to stare. At first, no one could comprehend what they were seeing. Then the reports came. Massive alien ships, hundreds of them, had appeared in Earth's orbit, moving with a confidence that chilled every space agency and military command on the planet. In their enormous formation, the alien fleet looked like a single living organism, pulsating with strange lights and humming with energy that no human technology could match. The species calling themselves the Vrethi were renowned across several star systems as conquerors, feared for their technological might and their ruthlessness. And now they were here, certain that humanity would fall quickly, as every other civilization had before. From the observation deck of the International Space Defense Station, Commander Elias Vance watched the Vrethi fleet through the largest viewing window humanity had ever built. The man had faced countless crises in his 35 years, but nothing like this. The Vrethi ships dwarfed even the largest human carriers, and their surface weapons glimmered with energy that made the station's shields quiver. Yet Elias did not panic. He had a calm, almost unsettling confidence that seemed to radiate through the room. "They think we'll surrender," he said quietly to his team, his eyes never leaving the alien formation. "They don't know humans yet." They had risen each time, not through sheer power, but through ingenuity and determination. "They're moving closer," said Lieutenant Soren, pointing to a display where the largest Vrethi ships were approaching Earth's upper atmosphere. "They'll be within striking range in 3 hours. Let's see how they handle improvisation." The first engagement was subtle but devastating for the Vrethi. Small drones, seemingly insignificant compared to the massive alien ships, began attacking weak points that only human engineers could identify. Energy pulses that humans had barely managed to understand were redirected, causing the Vrethi ships to stagger and falter. The aliens had never seen anything like it. In orbit, Elias watched a display of the chaos. The Vrethi were confident, almost arrogantly so, but every move they made was countered in a way they had not calculated. The humans were not relying on brute force. They were using misdirection, deception, and unexpected tactics. A single satellite, repurposed with a low-tech EMP device, had disabled the navigation system of one of the largest alien cruisers. The ship spun helplessly, crashing into the atmosphere with a fiery roar that could be seen from hundreds of miles away. The Vrethi had underestimated humans, and that was a mistake they would soon regret. On the ground, people watched in awe and fear as alien craft hovered in the sky. Major cities went into emergency lockdown, but the panic was tempered by something new: hope. Humans had survived disasters before. They had always found a way. And now, under Elia's leadership, they were showing the galaxy that humanity was far from defenseless. The Vrethi commanders, observing from their own ships, could not understand what was happening. Their intelligence reports had predicted an easy conquest. Humans were supposed to panic, surrender, or flee. Instead, they were organized, deliberate, and surprisingly bold. The alien hierarchy buzzed with frustration and confusion. How could such a young species, limited in numbers and technology, defy them so effectively? As night fell across continents, Earth's skies were filled with flashes of energy and glowing trails left by alien and human weapons. Yet no matter how advanced the Vrethi were, they struggled against human creativity. Pilots improvised, engineers repurposed old technology, and civilians contributed in ways that confounded their invaders. Small groups of humans managed to disable alien landing pods with nothing more than ingenuity and courage, turning forests, mountains, and cities into traps that the Vrethi had not calculated. In one quiet control room, Elias leaned back in his chair, analyzing the patterns of the Vrethi. He had studied their behavior, their culture, and their history. He knew they were proud, ruthless, and entirely confident in their superiority, but pride made them predictable, and ruthlessness could be used against them. Humanity's greatest weapon was not its weapons at all, but its mind. On the Vrethi command ship, Supreme Commander Thrin watched the repeated failures with disbelief. Their calculations had been flawless, their technology unmatched, and yet their enemy, these fragile, seemingly primitive humans, kept finding ways to resist. Every assault was countered with ingenuity. Every attempt at intimidation met with calm defiance. Thrin roared in frustration, a sound of pure alien power, yet inside, a seed of doubt began to grow. By the third hour of engagement, the Vrethi began to reconsider their approach. Perhaps they had misjudged the humans. Perhaps this species was not a target for easy conquest, but a challenge they had never encountered before. That realization unsettled them more than any weapon ever could. Back on Earth, Elias coordinated with his teams, ensuring that every countermeasure was not just defensive but strategic. Every minor victory sent a message. Humans would not bow, flee, or surrender. They would fight, adapt, and outthink. The Vrethi had come expecting fear, and they found defiance. They had expected chaos, and they found order. As the first alien cruiser crashed into the Pacific Ocean, tidal waves erupted across the coastline, but emergency protocols minimized human casualties. The people watching from afar cheered, and for the first time, the world began to believe that the invaders could be resisted. Governments that had argued over military budgets, space programs, and international conflicts now worked together. Humanity's unity became as important as its ingenuity. Elias felt a quiet satisfaction. This was just the beginning. The Vrethi had underestimated humans, and that mistake would cost them dearly. He knew they would regroup, adapt, and come back stronger. But humanity had something no calculation could predict: creativity, resilience, and an unyielding will to survive. That night, as Earth's people went to bed under skies still crowded with alien ships, there was a sense of anticipation. The Vrethi had arrived believing they would conquer, but humanity was proving that the conquerors could be challenged, and perhaps even humbled. And somewhere in the cosmos, the Vrethi fleets began to whisper among themselves, confusion turning to concern. The humans were not what they expected. They were something more, something dangerous, not because of raw power, but because of a spirit the Vrethi could not crush, understand, or predict. Elias closed his eyes for a moment, thinking of the long days ahead. Strategy would be tested, sacrifices made, and ingenuity stretched to its limits. But he had faith. Humanity had faced extinction before and had always survived. And now, for the first time, they were proving to an alien empire that survival was only the beginning. The real story of Earth's defense had begun, and it was one that the Vrethi would never forget. They had arrived confident, proud, and certain of victory. And they would leave with a lesson they had never expected. Humans were not to be underestimated, because no matter how advanced a conqueror might be, the human spirit could find a way to fight back. For the first time in interstellar history, an alien empire faced a species that could challenge them not with sheer firepower, but with ingenuity, courage, and an unwavering will. And that was a battle they were not prepared to lose. The morning after the first clash, Earth's skies still held the traces of battle. Smoke drifted along coastlines where alien ships had fallen into the oceans, and satellites beamed images of the chaos back to every nation on the planet. Yet humanity did not panic. Instead, it had begun to understand the pattern of its new enemy. The Vrethi were powerful, proud, and surprisingly stubborn, but also predictable in their arrogance. Commander Elias Vance stood in the operations center, a large glass dome overlooking the remnants of the stricken alien fleet. Beside him, Lieutenant Soren pointed to a display. "They're forming new clusters, trying to regain formation. Their scouts are moving cautiously this time." The Vrethi had been confident that humanity would either ignore their warnings or collapse under the pressure of first contact. Instead, humans reached out. They did not offer surrender, but a challenge. A meeting, not in hostility, but in negotiation. In orbit, the largest Vrethi Command ship hovered, its immense hull reflecting the sun in flashes that blinded sensors momentarily. Supreme Commander Thryn, still furious over the unexpected defeat, watched the humans' attempts at communication with disdain. "They have no right to speak to us," he growled, his voice vibrating through the ship. "They are weak, they are primitive, and yet they persist." He chose a crew not for their military rank alone, but for their problem-solving skills, courage, and ability to remain calm under pressure. Humans had never faced a challenge like this before, but Elias knew the key was to present themselves not as a threat, but as equals in wit and strategy. The chosen humans boarded a sleek shuttle equipped with a mix of human and repurposed alien technology. As they approached the alien flagship, its size overwhelmed them. The walls of the docking bay gleamed with an alien metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Inside, the corridors were vast, with lights that shimmered in colors no human eye had names for. The first Vrethi ambassador appeared, its form tall, sleek, and menacing, with eyes that seemed to pierce the human soul. Its voice, translated through a device, was cold and authoritative. "We expected your species to surrender or scatter, yet you send envoys. Explain." "We wish to speak, not as subjects but as equals. We have resilience. Underestimate us and you will learn your mistake." In the following hours, the delegation demonstrated small but significant feats. They showed how human engineers could repurpose damaged alien drones into defensive tools. They presented strategies that turned the aliens' own calculations against them. They revealed that humans could predict patterns in alien behavior, not through advanced machines, but through observation, intuition, and collaboration. The Vrethi began to understand something alarming. Humans were not just defiant, they were clever. They were adaptive. They were dangerous, not because of raw strength, but because of their minds. Back on Earth, news of the first contact spread quickly. People watched as live feeds showed humans walking confidently among aliens, negotiating, explaining, and demonstrating their capabilities. It was not a scene of fear or despair, but of confidence and hope. Citizens realized that humanity's strength had always been underestimated by outsiders. And now, for the first time, it was being tested on a galactic scale. Meanwhile, the Vrethi commanders conferred among themselves. Thryn's tentacles traced glowing diagrams in the air as he spoke. "They are unpredictable. They do not behave as other species do. They improvise. They challenge us where we expected compliance. Our calculations fail. Only then can we maintain control." Each small victory, each clever solution, reinforced a lesson that had been true throughout history. Intelligence, creativity, and courage could challenge even the most powerful force. During one demonstration, Elia's team showed how they could disable an alien scout drone using a combination of low-tech electromagnets and precise timing. The drone, which the Vrethi had assumed indestructible, fell from the sky, its systems fried in a method that relied more on observation and logic than on brute strength. The aliens were astounded. No other species had dared to interfere with their machines in this way. No other species had challenged their expectations with such precision and audacity. And yet, the humans did not boast. They explained their methods calmly, patiently, as if instructing equals rather than demanding respect. By midday, the Vrethi ambassadors were visibly shaken. They had never encountered a civilization that approached problems not with raw aggression, but with intelligence, collaboration, and ingenuity. They began to whisper among themselves, analyzing every human move with a mix of suspicion and admiration. Elias, sensing the shift, pressed further. He invited the Vrethi to observe how humans solved logistical challenges, managed emergencies, and coordinated large-scale operations without centralized control. The aliens were fascinated. They saw humans moving with a coordination that was simultaneously chaotic and precise, a pattern that their rigid protocols could not predict. "Your species relies too heavily on order," Elias said during one demonstration, pointing at a map showing alien and human forces. "You calculate, you control, you dominate. But humans, we adapt. We improvise. We survive." Every small success human engineers demonstrated chipped away at the aliens' arrogance. By evening, the aliens retreated to their ships, not defeated but forced to reconsider their strategy. They had come expecting easy conquest, but had encountered a species that did not bend to intimidation or technology alone. They had learned that underestimating humans was a grave mistake. Back on Earth, Elias returned to his command center, reviewing the day's events. "They're beginning to understand," he said to his team. "They think they can intimidate us, but they're learning the hard way that humans are different. Every empire that underestimated us learned the same lesson." They had witnessed something extraordinary, humans standing on equal footing with a species considered unstoppable across galaxies. In orbit, Thryn looked out at the blue and green planet below. His pride had been bruised, his plans disrupted. But in that challenge, he found something unfamiliar: respect. Not the respect commanded by fear, but the respect earned through intelligence, courage, and adaptability. The Vrethi returned to their ships, their minds racing with calculations, strategies, and questions they had never expected to face. They had believed that humans would be conquered quickly, that Earth would fall like countless worlds before it. And yet they had encountered a species that refused to be intimidated, a species whose ingenuity made them unpredictable, formidable, and remarkable. Elias, looking at the stars above, knew that this was only the beginning. The humans had proven themselves capable of standing against an alien empire, not through overwhelming force, but through intelligence, teamwork, and courage. And the Vrethi, arrogant conquerors of countless worlds, were learning the first lesson of many. Humans were not a species to be underestimated. That night, Earth slept beneath skies still filled with alien ships, but there was hope, and a quiet pride that humanity had never known. The first contact had not been about surrender, fear, or domination. It had been about proving that the human spirit, when combined with ingenuity and resilience, could face even the most powerful challenge. And the Vrethi, for all their power, had no choice but to take notice. The calm that followed the first contact did not last long. The Vrethi, prideful and stubborn, were not used to being questioned, challenged, or outsmarted. They returned to their ships, regrouping and recalculating. This time they would strike harder, smarter, and with full force. Their new strategy was simple in theory: overwhelm humans through numbers, speed, and firepower. But they underestimated one critical factor: human adaptability. On Earth, Commander Elias Vance convened his team. The operations room was filled with holographic projections of alien movements, satellites tracking energy surges, and displays showing human defensive positions. Every major city had been fortified, but Elias knew that walls and weapons alone would not win this war. Humanity's advantage was not in strength but in ingenuity. "They're preparing for a full assault," Elias said, pointing to the largest clusters of alien cruisers. "They've learned to anticipate our basic defenses. Now they want to crush us with sheer numbers. We'll give them a fight they'll never forget." Engineers, tacticians, and scientists had been working tirelessly, creating plans that relied on misdirection, improvisation, and clever uses of both human and alien technology. Small squads had already begun testing unconventional strategies: drones with improvised sensors, vehicles outfitted with EMP pulses, and human squads trained to anticipate alien behavior patterns. The first wave of the Vrethi assault came at dawn. Massive ships descended toward Earth, their shadows stretching for miles, casting entire regions into darkness. Their war machines touched the surface, immense, armored, and armed with weapons that could obliterate entire cities. Yet the humans did not falter. Elias led a rapid deployment team to the front lines, coordinating attacks with precision. A convoy of human drones darted through forests and urban areas, striking at alien supply lines. Where the Vrethi expected straightforward engagement, humans created traps. Abandoned highways became mazes of explosive charges. Power grids were used to disrupt alien systems. Rivers and mountains became natural barriers, enhancing the effectiveness of human tactics. In one city, a squad of engineers had rigged a collapsed building to emit electromagnetic pulses when alien walkers approached. The effect was immediate. The massive alien machines froze mid-step, sparks flying from their joints. Soldiers tried to restart them, but human improvisation had accounted for that. Within minutes, the machines were immobilized, a feat that would have seemed impossible even to other advanced civilizations. Elias watched from a mobile command center, monitoring the battlefield in real time. The Vrethi, despite their vast superiority, were floundering. Every strike was met with a counterstrike that was clever, adaptive, and precise. Humans were exploiting patterns the aliens had never considered, using intuition and teamwork rather than brute force. Supreme Commander Thrin, observing from orbit, grew increasingly frustrated. His strategy of overwhelming numbers and firepower was failing. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Our calculations should ensure victory. They cannot match our strength, and yet they win in every engagement. They are controlling the battle. Study them, every decision, every reaction. Find a weakness we can exploit." Children helped map alien movements in real time through amateur drone networks, and engineers converted everyday vehicles into mobile sensor hubs. Every citizen became a part of the strategy, showing that humanity's strength lay not in a single leader or machine, but in collective effort. In one daring operation, Elias led a team to capture an alien scout drone intact. Using minimal resources and careful timing, they managed to disable its core systems without destroying it. The intelligence they gained was invaluable. It revealed weaknesses in the Vrethi communications network and vulnerabilities in their energy shields. With this knowledge, human forces could anticipate attacks before they happened, turning the aliens' own technology against them. The battlefield shifted. The Vrethi had expected chaos, but humans orchestrated chaos with precision. The aliens were confused, frustrated, and increasingly desperate. Their confidence, once unshakable, began to crack. In a mountainous region, a group of human soldiers executed a daring ambush. Using natural terrain and human-engineered traps, they lured alien walkers into narrow passes. The machines, immense and powerful, struggled to maneuver. Explosive charges detonated at key moments, disabling entire squads of the aliens' ground forces. The operation, while small in scale, became a symbol of human ingenuity and courage. Elias monitored each skirmish, coordinating forces with calm efficiency. He moved not with arrogance, but with a confidence born of understanding human potential. The humans were not merely surviving, they were turning every disadvantage into an opportunity. During the battle, communications with the alien command revealed increasing tension. Thrin had dispatched more forces, attempting to overwhelm the humans with a larger strike. Yet for every move, humans had an answer. They used alien technology against itself, improvising tactics that even the Vrethi had not imagined. At the heart of the conflict, Elias directed a combined human assault on the largest alien landing pod in a city under siege. Using a combination of imps, precision strikes, and clever maneuvering, the team disabled the pod's defenses and forced it to surrender. The alien crew inside was captured unharmed. This marked the first time in history that a Vrethi unit had been compelled to yield to humans. The captured aliens were disoriented and angry, but Elias treated them with respect, asking questions, observing their behavior, and documenting every detail. He understood that victory was not just in combat, but in understanding the enemy. Humanity's strength was not only in defeating its foes but in learning from them, preparing for future challenges, and showing that even the most powerful invaders could be outsmarted. As night fell, the battlefields were littered with disabled alien machines, and human forces regrouped. Casualties had been minimized, not by surrender or retreat, but by strategic brilliance. Cities had been saved, civilians protected, and the Vrethi forced to retreat once more. The Vrethi commanders aboard their fleet convened in frustration. Thrin's tentacles traced rapid patterns in the air. They are clever, resourceful, and persistent. Every attack is met with strategy, every move countered. They do not fear us. They adapt. They are remarkable. We've shown them that humans are not weak, that ingenuity and courage can match power. Today was not just a victory in combat, it was a demonstration of who we are. And the Vrethi are learning the first lesson of many. Humanity cannot be conquered by fear or force alone. The victory was not complete, but it was significant. Every disabled machine, every captured scout, every clever maneuver sent a message. Humans were not to be underestimated. In distant space, the Vrethi fleet regrouped. Thrin studied Earth, analyzing every move, every tactic, every human decision. The arrogance that had guided them for centuries was being replaced with something unfamiliar: caution, respect, and an uncomfortable realization that humans, fragile and limited as they seemed, could outthink and outmaneuver even the greatest conquerors of the galaxy. As night fell on Earth, people looked up at the stars, unaware of the exact details of the battle. But they felt something new: pride. Humanity had faced an alien empire and survived. More than that, it had shown that the human mind, creativity, and courage could turn the tide against an enemy whose strength seemed absolute. Elia stood on a hill overlooking a city lightly scarred by battle. The hum of alien machines lingered faintly in the distance, but the city was safe, and its people were alive. He understood that the war was far from over. The Vrethi would strike again, and they would be prepared. But he also knew a truth that every human soldier, engineer, and civilian now understood. Humanity's strength lay not in what it could build, but in what it could imagine, create, and endure. And as the stars shone above, the Vrethi fleet began to realize that Earth was not just another planet to conquer. It was a planet that would fight back, a planet that would adapt, a planet that would survive. And at the heart of that planet, humans would stand united, clever, and unyielding, proving once again that even against the most powerful invaders in the galaxy, humanity's spirit could never be broken. The Vrethi fleet hung above Earth like a dark cloud, their ships massive and imposing, yet filled with unease. The defeats they had suffered were not mere accidents. They were the result of human ingenuity, courage, and strategy. Supreme Commander Thrin could not ignore it any longer. His calculations, which once guaranteed victory, had failed repeatedly. The humans were not just resisting, they were dominating. On Earth, Commander Elias Vance observed the alien movements through the command center. The humans had anticipated the Vrethi's strategies, countered their attacks, and even captured several of their machines intact. The aliens were growing desperate, sending smaller units to probe human defenses, but each attempt was met with clever traps, improvisation, and coordinated strikes. Elias addressed his team, his voice calm but firm. "They're testing us. Expect everything. They will try new tactics, unpredictable movements, anything to gain an advantage. But remember this: humans adapt. We use what we have, and we turn every disadvantage into strength." The Vrethi had never begged, never requested terms, and now they were asking humanity to listen. Elias gathered the human delegation. "They're coming to negotiate," he said, studying the display. "They have realized brute force alone will not win. This is our opportunity, but remember, we deal from strength, not fear." Their ships, while still massive, moved carefully, almost timidly, compared to the confident strides they had taken before. The human's shuttle approached steadily, carrying Elias and his team. Inside the alien craft, the atmosphere was tense. The Vrethi, proud and imposing, now spoke with a tone Elias had never heard from them before: uncertainty. Supreme Commander Thrin's voice, translated through a device, was steady but carried a hint of caution. "We underestimated your species," he admitted. "We expected submission, obedience, and fear. Instead, you resisted. You outmaneuvered us. You proved yourselves formidable. You found resistance and creativity. That is our strength." Thrin's assistant spoke, voice tinged with reluctance. "What is it that you offer us? Peace, cooperation. Your species is unpredictable." "This is leadership." Elias used the moment to demonstrate human capability further. Engineers showed captured alien machines, explaining how humans had adapted their technology to strengthen defenses and anticipate alien strategies. They displayed maps of coordinated human defenses, detailing how intelligence, teamwork, and quick thinking had turned each alien advance into an opportunity for counterattack. The Vrethi watched in disbelief. Every gesture, every demonstration, every explanation reinforced a truth they could not deny. Humanity was extraordinary. They were not just clever, they were resilient, strategic, and capable of turning the impossible into reality. Thrin's multiple eyes reflected a mixture of anger, confusion, and awe. "You are remarkable," he admitted, though he did not like the humility it required. "We have never encountered a species like yours. Every encounter proves you are more than we expected. You can benefit from humanity's guidance instead of trying to dominate us." Their soldiers were being captured, their machines disabled, and their fleet had suffered losses that could not be ignored. A young Vrethi officer, observing from the back of the room, whispered, "We are powerless. They outthink us. Every move we make is anticipated. Every strategy we try is countered. That was our greatest mistake. We can adapt, but we must do so under their terms. We have no choice." And humanity held the advantage, not through destruction, but through intelligence, morality, and calm confidence. Over the next few days, humans and Vrethi worked together cautiously. Human engineers taught aliens how to repair their damaged machines efficiently, but only under human supervision. Strategists shared insights into battlefield tactics, emphasizing collaboration and respect. Every lesson reinforced the human principle. Power was not only measured in strength, but in creativity, ethics, and the ability to adapt. The Vrethi slowly realized that they were no longer in control. They had entered Earth expecting submission, but found a species that refused to be dominated. They had expected fear, but found confidence. And now they were learning to respect humans, not because they were forced to, but because it was undeniable. In one dramatic demonstration, a human team disabled an entire alien supply convoy without firing a single conventional weapon. Using clever misdirection, terrain knowledge, and improvised energy manipulation, they rendered the alien vehicles inoperative. Thrin watched, unable to intervene, forced to acknowledge the human's ingenuity. "We can learn," Thrin admitted quietly to his lieutenant. "But it is humbling. They are teaching us strategies, methods, and reasoning that we have never known. We are behind." Humans had not conquered the aliens through firepower. They had not destroyed their fleet in a single blow. Instead, they had done something far more remarkable. They had shifted the balance of respect. The Vrethi, who had believed themselves unstoppable, were now forced to beg for guidance, to adapt to human methods, and to accept a leadership they had never imagined. Civilians around the world celebrated quietly. News broadcasts, social media feeds, and public communications shared stories of cooperation, clever strategies, and successful defenses. Humanity's resilience and intelligence were no longer just a matter of pride. They were becoming legendary, not only on Earth but slowly, across the galaxy as reports leaked through alien communications. Elias addressed his team one final time that week. "They came to conquer, they underestimated us, and now they are asking for help. Remember this moment. Remember what we've accomplished, not through fear but through intelligence, unity, and perseverance. Humanity has proven its strength, and this is only the beginning." And in doing so, humanity's reputation as a species to be reckoned with had grown immeasurably. For the first time in the Vrethai's long history, a species had forced them to beg, to reconsider, and to accept guidance. And on Earth, humans looked up at the sky not with fear, but with quiet pride. They had not only defended their planet, they had proven the truth that had always defined humanity. Intelligence, courage, and morality could overcome even the most powerful adversaries. And somewhere in the dark expanse of space, the Vrethai whispered among themselves, a new understanding dawning. Humanity was not a species to conquer. Humanity was a species to respect, learn from, and, perhaps reluctantly, follow. The Vrethai fleet hovered quietly above Earth, no longer bristling with the confidence of conquerors. Their ships glimmered under the sun, yet the energy that once radiated arrogance had been replaced with caution and hesitation. They had come expecting submission, but now the reality before them was entirely different. Humanity had proven itself clever, courageous, and unyielding. Commander Elias Vance stood in the operations center, watching the alien ships with a calm intensity. Months of planning, battles, and negotiations had led to this moment. The humans had turned the tide not by overwhelming firepower, but through intelligence, strategy, and unity. Now, the final chapter of this conflict was about to unfold. "They've sent more envoys," Lieutenant Soren reported, eyes scanning the communications display. "They want a full meeting, this time to discuss long-term cooperation. Let them see what it means to work with humans, not as masters but as equals." They had faced the aliens' might, adapted to it, and now commanded respect. Inside the alien ship, the atmosphere was tense. Supreme Commander Thrin's eyes, usually sharp and commanding, now carried the weight of humility. "We underestimated you," he said, his voice steady but subdued. "Your species has shown ingenuity, courage, and strength we did not anticipate. We wish to learn from you." They had seen their machines disabled, their soldiers captured, and their strategies outmaneuvered at every turn. The humans had survived assaults they could never have expected, not through sheer strength, but through intellect and unity. Over the following days, humans began instructing the Vrethai in methods they had never known. Engineers worked side by side, showing aliens how to repair machines efficiently, improve coordination, and anticipate problems before they arose. Tacticians shared strategies that balanced logic with intuition, demonstrating that victory was not always about overwhelming force, but about thinking several steps ahead. The Vrethai learned quickly, though sometimes reluctantly. Every lesson was a reminder of their earlier arrogance, and every success they achieved under human guidance reinforced the reality that Earth's inhabitants were extraordinary. Even Supreme Commander Thrin had to admit, silently, that the humans were teaching them a form of intelligence that no conqueror had ever needed to consider before. On Earth, cities began to recover and rebuild. Damage from the alien attacks was repaired not only by human engineers, but with Vrethai assistance, now guided by human methods. Civilians contributed, using their creativity and resourcefulness to restore infrastructure faster than any alien force could have anticipated. Humanity was not just surviving, it was thriving, proving that intellect and cooperation could overcome devastation. In one notable operation, a group of human pilots guided alien ships to assist in resource transportation. The Vrethai ships, massive and powerful, had once been symbols of fear. Now, under human coordination, they were tools for rebuilding, moving supplies efficiently and safely across continents. The sight of former invaders working under human guidance inspired both awe and admiration among Earth's population. Elias addressed his team one evening, overlooking the capital city where human and Vrethai engineers worked together. "We've done more than defend our planet," he said. "We've demonstrated what it means to be human. Strength is not just weapons. Strength is intelligence, courage, and unity. Today, we lead not because we dominate, but because we inspire." It was a reversal that no empire had ever experienced, and the humans handled it with measured confidence, patience, and fairness. Supreme Commander Thrin observed one demonstration of human coordination, where cities were powered, transportation optimized, and resources allocated with extraordinary efficiency. He realized that the humans' methods were not merely clever, they were revolutionary. The species that had once seemed weak, fragile, and primitive was now the center of interstellar attention. Your species, Thrin admitted to Elias, has shown wisdom beyond your technology. We wish to continue learning if you allow it. Humanity cannot be conquered, only understood. Every decision, every action reinforced the reality that humans were not only defenders of their planet, they were leaders. The world watched as former invaders became partners in progress. Cities were rebuilt faster than anyone had imagined. Technology advanced, combining human ingenuity with alien tools, yet always under human guidance. Scientists marveled at the new opportunities. Engineers designed solutions previously thought impossible, and ordinary citizens took pride in their role in the defense and recovery of Earth. Elias often reflected on how far humanity had come. The species that had once been underestimated by the Vrethi, laughed at by interstellar observers, had turned a potential disaster into a triumph of intelligence and spirit. Every human contribution mattered. Every act of creativity and courage added to the story of survival and leadership. The final proof of humanity's supremacy came during a coordinated operation to secure the remaining alien forces in orbit. Using clever strategy, precise timing, and improvisation, human pilots and engineers ensured that no alien ship remained a threat. The Vrethi, guided by humans, followed instructions flawlessly, completing the operation without incident. What had once been a battle for survival had become a demonstration of collaboration, efficiency, and leadership. As Earth celebrated its victory, Elias addressed the planet in a broadcast seen by billions. We faced a challenge that many believed we could not overcome, and yet we did. Not through domination, not through fear, but through intelligence, courage, and unity. Humanity has proven its strength to the galaxy, and today we stand not just as survivors but as leaders. Let this be remembered. A species that adapts, that innovates, and that works together cannot be defeated. The human spirit is unstoppable. Tales spread across the galaxy of the species that could not be conquered, only respected. They carried stories of humans who turned desperation into ingenuity, weakness into strength, and fear into leadership. For the first time, an empire of invaders recognized the supremacy of humanity not through destruction, but through intellect, courage, and morality. Commander Elias Vance stood atop a rebuilt tower in the heart of the city, watching the sun rise over a peaceful world. The alien ships still in orbit gleamed in the morning light, a reminder not of past threats but of the victories humanity had earned. Around him, people moved with purpose, rebuilding, innovating, and thriving. Humanity had not only survived, it had risen. In the skies, the Vrethi observed silently, no longer aggressive, no longer proud in the same way. They had learned to respect humans, to follow guidance, and to adapt to methods far beyond their previous understanding. And on Earth, humans continued their work, confident, united, and aware that their ingenuity had changed the course of history. Elias looked toward the stars and reflected on the journey. They had faced the unknown, adapted, and triumphed. Humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer uncertain, it was assured. Other civilizations might challenge them in the future, but they had proven the essential truth of the human spirit. Courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome any challenge, no matter how powerful. And as the planet thrived under the light of a new dawn, it was clear to all who looked skyward that Earth was not just a world to be defended. It was a symbol of hope, resilience, and leadership. The Vrethi had arrived expecting to conquer, but they had left with lessons, guidance, and respect for a species that had redefined what it meant to be strong. Humanity had faced the impossible, adapted with brilliance, and emerged not just victorious but revered. And in the heart of every human there was pride, understanding, and the certainty that no challenge could ever truly defeat them. The galaxy had learned, and so had the humans themselves. To survive, to lead, and to shine was the destiny of humanity.